can hear you. Can you hear me?
I believe you're muted. Yep, there we go.
Hi.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm okay. I'm Tammy.
Nice to meet you, Tammy. I'm Sarah.
Nice to meet you. I don't know what to do to start, so before I talk too much, you just do all the questions and I'll stick to certain questions you have so I don't talk too much of our time.
Okay. So the first thing I wanted to address, I don't know, did the last attorney you have talked to you about a voluntary versus involuntary TPR and the consequences of that?
No, I didn't. I didn't discuss that. I have looked into it, but I have not been told anything.
Okay. Because that's something that's big, especially if you might plan on having future children or if you want to be around children in the future. A voluntary TPR keeps it as you're still able to be around kids. If you have kids in the future, they're not taken at the hospital. If you do have a contact agreement, the foster parent's allowed to leave you alone with the child, things like that. With an involuntary, if you have more children, they're taken at the hospital. There's some pretty strict restrictions about what you can do and who you can be around for kids. Um, if you're, if you babysit kids, they could open an investigation into that because you have an involuntary termination.
And I used to do like Camp Victory at the Sunday school, and I used to nanny these 4 Hawaiian kids, and there's lots of things I've done that would be good information to know. But go
So
ahead.
it's one of those things where if you want to continue doing those things, I talked to the prosecutor and she would be willing to consider a voluntary termination, which is where you agree with the termination.
But I don't though.
Yep, I'm just addressing what the differences are and the consequences of an involuntary, which is if we go to trial, versus a voluntary, which is if you say, I agree, there are fewer consequences. You just need to know these things, So.
Am I choppy coming in or am I coming in clear?
Nope, you're coming in clear.
Okay, I can hear you good too. Okay.
Okay.
So that is told to me now. Go ahead.
Okay. So, and it's not something you have to make a decision on today. It's something you can think about, but it is something you need to know just because it does have some long-term consequences. So, it's one of those things where it's a hard decision for parents either way. Whether to do a voluntary or take it to trial and risk the involuntary. But especially if you're thinking you might want more kids, it's something you need to think about.
I can't.
Oh, you can't have more kids? Okay.
Well, I could, but I'd be better. They've taken out the rest of my digestive tract, so it would be a hard time. And the rectal stump is removed. I have Crohn's colitis removed and cancer and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, so probably not as big of a deal, but also, like I said, if you wanted to babysit or work in daycare or anything like that, you have an involuntary, you can't do that.
Now, let's discuss this real quick. Did you have anything right now, or can I talk about something quick?
We can talk about something real quick. Go ahead.
The vacation or the trips they keep taking, they have been taking them since the September 18th and no one told me what was even requested of the courts. I luckily live by a courthouse within like seconds, so I'm there all the time. But they're still not telling me. I know that right now the reunification has changed, but the situation has this many requests that I have not seen that have been approved to go across state lines to a family event. October, which one? October 4th through 5th, a family event in Iowa. I don't know what kind of family event I go to in Iowa on 4th of October, but also they changed it in one of these, change of plans, we're not going to Iowa, we're going to Nebraska. And they planned these, September one, I guess Jimmy was sick, so they didn't go to that one in September, but then they requested November's for December, and December again to say we're changing our date, or our state we're going to. When it was approved, I still didn't get notification. I mean, there was nothing said to me at all. It says Mary Weaver approved it, or it has no objections. And the first notice in September, when reunification was still the plan before that had somehow slipped over, the request was for the kids to become, to get a chance for normalcy inside the foster care placement. Well, that's not what we were doing. That's a diversion of what we were doing. Also, there's a surgery that Jace has been needing, that I was not aware of at all. I know he had like a little bump, like right here, but it wasn't a bump. It just looked like his body structure when he was younger. And so that's probably what they're talking about, is a gastric hernia. I was not aware of that either. And for him to be going into a surgery without notifying me, I get it, the plan has changed from reunification, but it also shouldn't have changed. But that was not approved by the judge. He said not approved for that because it says here they want to request the courts to grant permission to sign all specialty paperwork, give verbal consent to Jace's doctors the day of surgery. And the surgery would be in North Dakota. So I don't know, that one was not approved on the 29th, and then they didn't hesitate to throw another one in on the 29th, so I don't know, sometimes they put times, but this one I couldn't find a time. They right away requested, well, if he can't get surgery, let's take him out of town. Emily left the country. Literally left the country. Her conflict of interest form I put in, she's studying the behavioral function, neurodevelopment of deviated life patterns of children. And if you haven't read my conflict of interest stuff or seen all of the stuff about her, she is doing removals on purpose for her research for this neuro lab. Neuroscience study, and she helped write part of the funding paperwork and stuff, whatever, all that. So I'm not really sure how to word all that without reading it again. But Samantha Haller is the new case worker on the request to go out of town. It's worded specifically like the same way. For them to get normalcy, they're going to be requested to go across state lines to do a family event with foster parent number 2, and June 6th through the 8th. They put this in the day that this was rejected. And
well, what I'll tell you is, first to start, they have no way of knowing when things will be accepted or rejected.
Right, but they're not even waiting for Jace to be done with surgery to take him in a car trip. If he's going to go to surgery in North Dakota, but then wait, he's also going out of town to Iowa. And then it's just, without telling me, the first one was on September 9th, and for a family event in October, and when I brought it up to her that she didn't tell me, she didn't even care. She doesn't care about most things, but, and now she's out of the country, so I don't know what she did, but running my life into the ground for her research, and then she disappears.
So the first thing I'll say is, unless you have actual evidence that your child's being used in the study, so citations in the study, things like that, we have no way to cross-examine her about that or anything like that. So we have no basis for the conflict of interest unless there's actual evidence your child's being used in the study. Do you have actual evidence?
There's actual evidence that she is doing research on the neural function brain development. There is actual evidence of her educational interests.
Yep, but it would have to be that in this specific case, she's using this specific case for her research.
Well, that's probably what she's doing right now, and back in the other country that it's located out of. Because she just
We can't use
she
speculation. We'd have to have actual facts and proof. So do you have any actual facts and proof we could use?
only of her educational interests, and that's it.
Okay, so there's not really anything we can do with that then.
Even if she's got a whole background of doing these brain studies and behavioral changes and all this stuff, it's no
Yep.
longer psychology. She's doing way different stuff than, and she was going to be going to medical school at the end of one of the reports about her not child protection. She shouldn't be able
Yep.
to handle the removal of children in state custody if she's doing that kind of research.
So
With
there's no
gathering research
restriction on
too.
that.
Okay.
There's no restriction on that we could use to say she can't do that kind of research as she's handling removals. There's no, unless you have information that says the research isn't approved by the appropriate parties, meaning who she's doing the research from hasn't actually approved her research, or that your child is actually involved in the research.
I think all children would be involved in the research after she starts doing research collecting.
Nope, because there's specific, so in order to do research, there are specific protocols you have to use in order for it to be valid research. So unless you have a reason to believe that your child falls within those specific
Well,
protocols
pull up all
and
those
that
empty
protocol,
documents I signed. Probably something in there. She's slick.
but there would
Probably.
have to, you would have to have actual evidence,
Okay.
and it doesn't sound like we have actual evidence of that.
Not, not, no, not of that. No, I don't. Now, what about? I've been doing all types of stuff and all types of things that have been discredited since December 17th, when they've been planning to go out of town. December 27th through the 30th, they were planning to do that. December 17th hearing came, and I was very unaware of this, but they fucking lied. Sorry. They lied, and it blew my soul out of my heart, and I didn't know they could do that. And I put in a motion to dispute, and I didn't get served all parties. Kyra Ladd got involved in that one because it was serving just fine before that. She's like, I didn't get it. Oh, I'll worry about that later. Whatever. I didn't serve all parties. I tried to resubmit it, and then he didn't accept it because it was too late of filing. But at the same time, I was also trying to change venue. This case is opened up because of my mother being in Wadena, and I have not seen her for 2 years, not seen her at all. We were avoiding her because she was abusive and she wouldn't stop being abusive. She was abusive when I was a child. This problem is something I brought up with my first public defender. There should not be unsupervised visits. I asked Wanda over and over again to address that. The first court date was awarded different placement. Sorry if I'm talking with my hands. I'm not mad at you.
Okay.
The placement was awarded different because of the past family violence. It's a Minnesota statute. I didn't know that, and she'd mentioned it, and I remembered everything, and I looked into it right away. And they've been violating that since because they don't listen. Emily really won't listen to anything. I was telling her. Then when my son's hands got injured, she avoided the Zoom visit on the Monday that it happened the day before, and then I couldn't get a hold of them for a whole week and a couple days. And finally, she messaged me that he had an injury on his hand playing a game and it was infected. Now it's getting better because it wasn't, and we have found out it was MRSA, and now he's on better antibiotics for the MRSA, and it's showing improvement. It took a whole week to not tell me about his hand. When I seen him after the court, March 13th, I think, it was both hands, and his fingernails were off on both hands, not one, not playing a game. And why would she lie and why would she hide it? And then she's like, sorry about the visit, it was missed on our end. Well, I was there waiting, missed on their end for a reason because he was injured and they were hiding it from me. It's very dangerous at my mother's house. She's very unsafe to be around, and they've been getting unsupervised visits since the placement was awarded different. You cut out for a second.
Nope, I can hear you.
And I wanted the transcript, and I can't seem to get it because I can't get it fee waived. I did put in a fee waiver request, it was approved, but not for the transcripts. I am under the assumption that it's a different form specifically for transcripts for the fee waiver. I want the transcript, and and I know it's like the old case, but they still shouldn't be allowed unsupervised visits. It's just not safe. And I would know. Also, my son can tell I hate that they used him and whatever they would. I would not want to use my son in court like that. But my son brought it to my attention to begin with. Also told me about my younger son being pressed down in his stomach till he stopped breathing because he was crying. And my mom, she clenches her teeth with frustration. She's just a very mean person. So with that, I hope something can maybe be done for that. I don't know what, but also, you better go ahead with some questions before I overtalk.
Okay. So it sounds like the kids are not at your mom's anymore, right?
Right, they were moved on May 15th, right after the thing started, but they've been getting unsupervised visits on the weekends, every weekend,
Okay.
with somebody they deemed already just inappropriate for placement.
Okay, so there's not much we can do about those visits, even if
What
the
about
most
federal
we could have done
filing
was
is
ask
all
them
of
not
this?
to do
If
placement.
we can't do anything state, this is all wrong, all of it's wrong, it needs to be federally filed, and I just need something to be done, because all of this stuff that I know the rules don't match up, but I know it would be through a different court and a different procedure and all that, but this is just all wrong.
So, I mean,
Go ahead.
if the judge asks if we have any concerns about the visitation, we can address it. But if
There
we're
obviously
only
is
dealing
concerns,
with
they're
the
getting injured
TPR
over
issue,
there.
my understanding is the only case on the docket is the TPR case. And we can't deal with their visitation in the TPR file. Does that make sense?
Is that done for a tactic? Is that done that way for a reason?
Nope. It's just done because that's how they schedule it. So court administration does that, and it's just how they do it. Sometimes they try. It's honestly just if somebody remembers to click a link correctly when they open a file.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So it's not tactical. It's not. It's literally just is the person who's opening the file remembering to check a box, and sometimes they forget to check that box.
It seems
so
tactic.
it's a question of human error,
Yeah.
not purposeful.
Yeah.
So
now about the changing of the hearing, I know I fired and hired, and it was just all silliness, but also the delay of the first trial went 6 months and 3 weeks. Then this one, I know we just said they're different, but this one has been going on. I know I can't say anything about time frames since I did most of the delay of getting a change of attorney, but the person that's in jail is not getting out, I don't think. I've looked him up on the website, and I get notified of his things. It said his thing was granted, but then it says he's not getting out until 2030. So it said his parole was, or his meeting that he had was grant. It was the decision, but then it doesn't show on his release day. So for him to have a different proceeding, also he was served like the weekend of before trial was supposed to be, and they stopped trying to pursue finding him September. They put in in the last case, they stopped pursuing finding him in September, and then they didn't even try until it was almost trial, this one, probably just for a delay purpose. But is that the reason why it's extended till July, or is just everybody's time and schedule didn't work out? Because he's got
it's just everybody's
Joshua.
time and schedule didn't work out.
Yeah.
Was why the only time they had in June, I am not available.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time they had in May, Emily and the guardian ad litem were not available.
Yeah. Well, Emily,
and
I
so,
don't think will be back. I'm not sure if you got more information about that, but that's what Kyra was saying during scheduling. Even into the first week of June, she said she'll be doing it alone because Emily won't be ending the case. She'll be finishing up with a different caseworker. She's out of the
Then
country.
I don't,
That's what she said.
yeah.
So,
That's what hearsay objections are for.
it says a deviation. It's a new admit deny hearing. We already did those. So I also put in
Yep. So the
a
admit
couple
deny
motions.
hearing deviation is for the dad.
Yeah.
They haven't ever officially entered an admission or denial on his behalf. And so he has to enter an admission or denial.
So this whole time I just have to painfully wait through till
Till trial?
I miss
Yeah.
my sons. I don't think that this is fair at all. You better go ahead with more questions.
Well, that's okay. I understand. And the timing is frustrating and everything, but a lot of it is just with me picking up the new case. I couldn't prepare for the first date they had in May. And then the June date they had, I'm just not available for.
So I missed the hearing at the hearing I was supposed to go to. I ended up getting food poisoning, very random time, and so did my witness, which he wasn't with me at the same time of contracting this food poison. He was in a total different area of Minnesota, but I was filing harassment restraining order against my mother's husband because the first few minutes after the first court, when I went over to the other building to see my kids, and they were in the parking lot, Jace was afraid and in pain when I went to pick him up. His butt was sore. I couldn't pick him up, and he looked through the door in the window of the vehicle to Nathan, who was staring at him. And Nathan walked around. Me and Jimmy came up, and I picked him up and walked in with Jace, and he walked around. And he was going to get the door for me, and he came up to me right in my face and said, "He's not your son, you fucked up, he's not your son." And I couldn't believe that he would want to say something like that before he understood that there was different placement. He thought he won. He didn't know a few minutes before that court said different placement. He thought he won my son over, or whatever his tactical plan. And his voice sounded so evil, and he's not your son, and it was probably to scare Jace quiet, because the first thing Jace did in any alienated situation was protect him and protect the situation and to try to justify it. And he said, well, maybe he said that because they're taking care of me right now. The tactics of alienation are heavy, extremely heavy. My mother told my ex that she wants my son, and after all of the information, I found out that he needed a harassment restraining order, and that one's in place. This other one didn't, because Nathan objected to it, and he went in and hired someone right away who called me up and wanted to know what evidence I had, and I said I had a witness. And luckily, Ed was there at court that day, and he was there right behind me, about maybe 10 paces back, and he heard him say that. So I had a witness, but I didn't go to the hearing, so it didn't end up going through. Now, I've been meaning to refile it, but would that stop them from being able to unsupervised see my children? Would that have ever even stopped? I mean, the harassment has only been the one time, and that's where the rules of harassment restraining order don't follow. But what would that have done if it did go through?
It wouldn't have stopped them from being able to see your sons with unsupervised visits.
What's that again?
It would not have affected the supervised versus unsupervised visits.
And I don't even know if it would even have went through because of the way the harassment that he was doing is different than the requirements for a restraining order. But
yep.
So that one's other than injury and Nathan saying that, those are pretty emotional subjects. So now I can clear up my tears a little bit. Go ahead with anything you have now.
Okay. So one thing I wanted to talk to you was about filing stuff. If you feel something should be filed, email it to me. Because then we can discuss whether or not it should be filed, if it needs to be changed, things like that.
I did put an objection to their out of town. I just put that in. I can read it to you, or show it to you, or email it to you, I meant. I can email it to you as soon as we get off.
Okay, did you file that, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. So in the future, before filing anything,
That's the last
So
one that I just did.
Okay. So in the
Um,
future, before
on the
filing
3rd.
anything, just make sure, and I'm not saying, I understand you filed stuff in the past, but from now on, just email it to me saying, this is something I want to consider filing, for 2 reasons. One, because you don't want to accidentally put something in there that's going to hurt you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And 2, I can help you either word it to make it sound correct for how the judge wants to have things worded,
Mm-hmm.
or I can talk to you about why the way you're going about it isn't going to achieve your goal, and how we can either achieve your goal or why that goal isn't achievable at this point in time.
Okay, so I'll send you, I have, put my list together. At first I was doing, a lot in all the things I have to do other than the case, but, I had a couple different exhibit lists, and I just wanted to get them in there, so I didn't miss the
Yep.
chance of having them in there. Now, he said I didn't need to, no parties need to do a supplemental list, but to put them, I have more, exhibits also, and way more. Whatever time they're thinking they're getting on that side is just giving me more chance to have more to show, more. Usually that's not the benefit of a prolonged case to the parent. Usually it makes it worse. I mean, my mental, it is not helpful, but,
Yep.
but it is
Well,
at the
we'll
same
talk
time.
about
So
we'll
I got the
talk
list I'll send you.
some about what'll help for trial, because one of the things with Judge Clark is, on some level, less is more
Okay.
for him. He likes it
78
when you
pieces
get
of
straight to the
information
point.
of exhibits. 78.
70, yeah. He likes it when you get straight to the point. So you and I will work together to figure out what can we give him that makes our point, boom, on to the next point, boom, on to the next point,
Like
boom.
stability, housing, the UAs that I've been doing with my drug, counseling and, treatment days and stuff, therapy, those kind of things. Stable
Exactly.
housing, all that.
Exactly. And we're going to hit them quick and fast and then move on to the next thing quick and fast.
Okay.
Because that's one thing with Judge Clark, is he likes you to just hit the point, move on to the next point, move on to the next
That's funny
point.
because he lets Kyra talk forever.
Oh, he'll let you talk forever. He'll let me talk forever. It doesn't mean that's what he likes. I've appeared in front of him since he's been a judge. And I know from experience that you are more likely to get a favorable ruling from him if you hit your point and you move on.
Yeah. And I didn't have
Sometimes you only have one point and you got to kind of drag it out so it sounds fancy.
Is that what she does?
Yeah. But when
We
you've
won't
got more
say
than
that
one
like
point,
that, but
yeah. When you've got more than one point, especially if they're going to be longer points, he likes it when you hit it and you move on.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he doesn't want to keep hearing the same thing over and over again. He's like, I got it, let's keep going.
Yeah.
So you and I will work together to sort of narrow down what we actually need to bring in.
Okay.
Because my guess is a lot of stuff we can just get from your testimony.
Yeah.
Because one of the things we'll do, and I'll work with Kyra about this, and I'll work with you on this, is we're going to come up with stipulations. And what stipulations are is they're documents and things that come in just without having to go through the whole trial process for them. So, like, there are certain documents that come in through the rules of evidence. And I could make Kyra go through a 5-minute process for every document that comes in through the rules of evidence.
Do it.
But all that does is annoy the judge.
Yeah.
And take time. And none of us want to do that.
And the transcripts can only be like so long. I think it's like 28, I think, pages.
Yeah. If she's got 20 documents to come in and we take 5 minutes for each document, that's an hour of our life we're never getting back.
And she can do that.
Yeah. So that's why I like stipulations, because
Very
if they're
thorough,
coming in anyway.
But would I be benefiting from that if she is thorough, and then we can get all the thorough details from her, knowing the details?
So one of the things with stipulations is we can still cross-examine witnesses on the things that are stipulated to.
Okay, and how
It's
would
literally
each side
just
do the
skipping that foundational part. So it's skipping all the Do you recognize this document? Is this document accurate? Do you know what this document is? Is this a fair and accurate copy of this document? It's basically like, yeah, okay, we all agree. Like, I've looked at it, it's the same document, we all know what it is, just put it in the evidence folder.
Okay, yeah.
So it just skips the really boring part of being a lawyer that nobody likes listening to.
You know the word I've used lately, the chronology. I like that one.
Yeah.
Just put it in the chronology.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's what stipulations are, is they're typically documents that everybody agrees, or things like UA results.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than having to bring in the person who did the UA, just everybody agrees UA results can come in.
Oh, yeah, I put them in exhibits. Or,
Yeah,
no, I
but
think I put it
normally
in
you
the
would
list,
have
but
to
not
bring the
yet.
person who ran the UA results in
Oh, yeah.
as a witness. So one of the nice things about stipulations is a lot of times I can get Kyra to agree that, yeah, we'll just put the UA results in.
Right, because I can get Heather to come. She's a drug counselor, but she's in Minneapolis.
Yeah, exactly. And it just saves us time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where it saves time. Sometimes we can save witnesses from having to come testify for like 10 minutes over something that it's just like, do we really need them to come testify for 10 minutes when it's not anything that's going to be cross-examined on? It's literally just, here's a document, isn't it pretty?
Now, they've been trying to group me with the other two parties involved, the fathers that they've adjudicated for the case. There's been no affiliation or contact, and on purpose, but not done maliciously. I've allowed it to be an open contact relationship if they wanted to, but there was none. So then there was none on my end too. There's been no relationship and no contact from either father, from my input even to pursue them or anything. The situation changed when I realized I was pregnant, and I moved and did my life as a mom. And why are they trying to group me as all three of us need our termination of parental rights? There's no, I've raised my kids, they have done nothing involved in any of it. And there's no drug history, there's no criminal history, there's no abuse history, there's nothing that I have done wrong to those boys, ever.
Yep, so they're basically saying you didn't finish your case plan, therefore you haven't cooperated with the CHIPS, therefore the termination is appropriate. That's what they're saying for you. For them, my understanding is they're saying they abandoned the kids, which is kind of what you're saying too.
Yeah, and then one of the paragraphs says, like, all three of us terminate our parental rights at the same time. Like, I don't know if that was a grouping or me just reading it as, like, yeah. But,
No, that's just them asking to terminate. So you can bifurcate a trial, which is saying do two different trials. Or you can just do one at the same time. That's them saying, let's just do them all at the same time. Probably because they don't expect the fathers to show up.
But I already got full custody of legal and physical custody of the one that I took to court.
Yep, even if you have custody.
So they wouldn't need him involved, they would just do it through me.
That's different than rights. So custodial rights are different than parental rights.
I think I was awarded the legal and physical custody and parental time discretion.
But that's custody, both physical and legal, are different than parental rights in Minnesota. So you can have no custody, no contact with your children, and still have parental rights.
Okay.
So this is them just saying, yeah, they've had no contact with their kids.
It just, I guess it's confusing because I get the discretion of visits and parenting time, but then they have rights still.
Yeah,
that's confusing.
That's just how Minnesota law works.
Now, the case plan has been...
typically rights like inheritance, things like that.
The case plan has been unnecessarily hard to accomplish, even overlapping my abilities to schedule in things, especially at first. With the plan done on purpose, there was 5 goals, and each 5 goal had A through K. You know, and I needed to address that, but I didn't get a chance to anybody. I didn't even have long enough. I have never talked to an attorney like this, not even at the first time. I went and met Wanda once, and my tire was popped when I left that meeting. And some kids, hoodlum kids, came running into the office, said they had it reserved or whatever. It was just awkward as hell. But she didn't believe me. She didn't listen. She didn't care. She did bring up the fact that I didn't like the unsupervised visits, but nothing happened of that. And she didn't put any of my information in when it was trial time. And she doesn't know that I can go to the courthouse and see it on a minute to minute. Like, I can go there and see if something was put in. I was watching the other side to put all their stuff in, and nothing came from my side, other than not being able to make it and breaking down outside of Monticello. I also wanted to address the fact that the visitations have been nothing that have been my fault. I've had issues with my vehicle. The last issue with the vehicle, the caliper ripped out the transmission, and now it was $600 at first to get it out. But and then before that, it was impounded, and I got it out for $400. So those are in the same couple weeks, so they're confused of which one was my fault. But I got it out, the one that was my fault, and then more issues with the valve stem, the tires, the fuel filter line, which are things I've all had to fix myself. And then a short circuit and a fire started in there, and so too much information. There's just been a very big tampering. I have pictures of too. My battery thing was opened up. Battery acid fingers were on the thing, whatever, and there was a bad cell, I guess is why it started having problems. Short circuiting actually lit a fire. So also the visits, if I'm not, I'd said I'm coming at 12:08, or it was like 12:05 on my end. But I had to find the other email to the other lady, and then I was putting in it, and so I emailed, I'm coming to my visit, Mom. My visit was scheduled for 3:30, okay, and 12:08, she said that, she's like, you are 8 minutes late, so I canceled the visit. 12:08, when you guys are 20 minutes away in Subika, you can't bring my kids when I'm not supposed to be visiting them 3 more hours later, and I show up at 3 o'clock for the case plan meeting, and then the visit was going to be at 3:30. So, and then she's done that twice in a row, not in a row, but 2 times. So it's very discouraging when I get there. I'm like ready to see them, and she canceled it because I didn't 6 minutes late, and she said to email this other person. Then one time she changed the Zoom link at 3:59. So I'm like, oh no, change the Zoom link. Hold on, email, pulling it up, clicking it. Okay, what do you mean changed it? And I was a couple minutes late, and then waiting. I was like, I'm in the waiting room, and she's like, oh, I already canceled it. Why would she send me? She's like, I didn't change the link, I just extended it. The tactics have been very malicious, and have been keeping track of everything. Also, the visits that happened right before she said it was my fault, the reunification plan was ended, even though it ended in March. In the beginning of April, on the Monday Zoom visits, she would go a couple minutes into letting me talk to my son. One son, Jimmy. The first it was Jason. Jimmy was not in the visits for a long time. And then I asked her why they're only 15 minutes. I wanted more time. And then she said, well, they don't want to talk that long. That's not true. They'll start showing me something. Show mommy this. And I'm like, I love it. Okay, say goodbye, guys. So I didn't get her recorded, and then I finally did. I don't know what evidence that could be. If I audio extract from it, maybe. But she would stop the boys from talking, and say, okay, well, they don't want to talk no more. Okay, well, I'll email you. And we just would start talking. I have them recorded, so you can hear the way she addresses the situation. 2 weeks in a row, she told me right in the first few minutes of talking to them, well, they don't want to talk, so we're not going to make them, and goodbye. I was like, put my video back up, please. I get my chance to talk to them. And then she said the Monday didn't go after that because she told me they didn't want to talk to me for 2 weeks in a row. I didn't go, and she said it was my fault that reunification was changed. And when I looked into that, it wasn't my fault. It already had been done with the judge in March. And she must have not known, or she just does whatever she wants, or she just really wanted to hurt me with that. She was running her own show. And I really don't think that that's right or fair. That's interference with visits, and it's not healthy for my sons to have to go through that. It's not right. This whole thing has just been a horrible nightmare. They do not need to be going through that. I don't need to be going through this. There's been nothing that I've deserved to be taken away from them and not get to talk to them. I can't even see them.
So it's one of those things where, like I said, we'll work together. We'll figure out a plan for trial. Right now, what we have is the admit deny. We'll enter the denial for right now. Okay. Make sure you think on that voluntary versus involuntary, just because I want to make sure you're making that as a clear decision. Okay. And I tell that to everybody.
Okay.
I know. I don't ever want you making that decision the day I tell you about it for anybody.
Right.
You know, I always want everybody to think on it. Take your time, sleep on it. If you need to, talk to a friend about it, talk to a counselor, you know, because you've got to, it's something that'll impact your life in a big way. And it's something that you just have to think about. Okay? Because not thinking about it would be doing yourself a disservice. I just kind of want to make sure we have time to wrap stuff up. That's why I'm going through what we've talked about to make sure we're on the same page. Okay? We will make sure that we get together again and we'll discuss witnesses and evidence and stuff. I got all the discovery from your previous attorney, so I should have all that. I will talk
his
to
case file. I got it too. It was very sporadic. None of it really is. I mean, if you want to know the case, this is the case. This is all of it. That's a stack over there of every month. Okay, there's over there is every case that every attorney has had of all the CHIPS cases. There's timelines over there. Whatever he had, he even duplicated stuff. If you notice, it was just repetitive duplicated just to make it look bigger. I don't know what. He probably didn't even have a case file before I asked him. But
I don't know, but I got a copy, so hopefully that's all the discovery. If it's not, I'll get the rest of it from the prosecutor's office.
Okay, just be careful. The size of it and the files are multipled. There's a lot of repetitive
duplicates. Yep. I know the secretary at the prosecutor's office pretty well, so she's pretty good about getting me discovery. So if there's something missing, I'll send her a list of what I have. She's pretty good about looking through that and looking through the file and making sure I have everything. Because nobody likes it when I get to trial and I'm like, excuse me, never seen that. It's never a fun argument to have in front of the judge for anybody.
Yeah, Kyra was wanting a supplemental list, so she was talking to me about being able to object my evidence if I put something in it, because she wasn't able to read one of the files I put in.
Yep. So if there's, and then make sure, I think I have that list that you submitted.
I did redo it, because I had page 1 through 2 and whatever. I did redo it, and I think number 40 has maybe a couple duplicates, or a couple in number 40, but I left a pretty good space in the 30s for more evidence to be put in there, because I didn't remember which numbers as I started off again, but I have them numbered appropriately, so I'll send you that. It's a Word document, but maybe you could copy the bulk information and put it over into, I'll send you what I've written up, and you can copy.
Yep. Why don't you send me that in your witness list?
Okay, yep.
And we'll make sure that we talk about that and that I get copies, because we're going to meet between the admit, deny, and the pretrial.
Okay.
To make sure we have everything sort of organized and we have all the discovery into Kyra, and that we have so that we get all of our discovery to Kyra and Kyra gets all of her discovery to me.
Now, how do I get my visits back? How do I get that back?
So unless they put the CHIPS file on at the same time as the TPR,
it is on.
We have no way of asking for it. Yeah, so then we can't address the visits. The visits are addressed in that underlying CHIPS file.
But they're running the same time.
So if we can't, so if it's not calendared, so how the court calendar works is if a case is not on the calendar, the judge can't address that case.
But it is, though, at the same time, though, yeah. Not the
Okay,
second
'cause
day of
if
trial,
it's,
but it is the first day because it's just one hearing. It doesn't need two, but.
okay, so if it's the day of trial, we've got to deal with the trial. We can't address the visits. But if it's on the same calendar, I get the calendar every morning, so I'll double check for the
Now
admit
that we
deny.
have to wait all the way till July and all that.
Yep, but if it's on the same calendar as the admit deny or something like that, we can ask again at that. It just has to be on the same calendar day.
I see.
If it's not calendared, the judge can't make a ruling in that case, because by the rules there have to be notification of that case being on the calendar to all parties involved.
About a headache.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just a rule. So,
Okay.
but we'll address it if we can. If we can't, we'll address it when we can. So make sure you email me that stuff. We'll set up another meeting, and we have a plan. Do you feel like all your questions for right now have been answered?
What part of the of the parents' side of proving or doing, or I know they're not doing the reunification plan and whatever. Emily took off out of the country, and I don't know. I have a new caseworker, but what part, like the comprehensive assessments, what part of all of that? I'm still going to all of that, and I don't mind it. It's helpful considering they put me into more of a mental dysfunction than I've ever been. And so now
Yeah.
it has help. It's a hindsight helpful. It's very strange how they make a problem and then now it's helpful. But what part am I benefiting to keep the records coming, the proof?
Keeping records coming helps, because being able to bring to the judge up to that pretrial date, that, up till being able to tell the judge that, because even if we only have records up to that pretrial date, as long as you're still doing it, I can put you under oath and have you say, yes, even after the pretrial date, I went to 3 more therapy appointments.
Yeah, and I schedule med rides to go there and do the UA specifically on the group days in person. So they have that. Otherwise, the telehealth is how I do groups sometimes too.
Yep.
And
So yeah, so it helps to keep doing that stuff.
but they're not going to look at the list and then say, because the parental classes Emily didn't set me up for, and then she made like 9 different excuses of why, and that was on the CHIPS requirement. But I mean, doing that would obviously benefit, saying, look, this is what she did, but is it going to be like, this is good if I show, but then it's not as bad if I didn't do it?
So what I would say is, I don't know if you can afford it, but you can actually do the Love and Logic class online.
Love and Logic? Okay.
Yep, it's a parenting class. I don't remember how much it is.
Is there any fee waivers, or what's the
I don't know if there are fee waivers.
what's the company's name of that?
Hold on, I'm gonna Google it.
Okay, I can Google it too. Yeah, I'll Google it too. We don't have to worry about that. Love and Logic, so I'll Google into that.
Yep. Love and Logic, they do it. I know they do it online because I had a client who had the similar problem with social services, not in Wadena, in a different county, not setting up parenting classes. So I helped him set up Love and Logic.
Okay.
And so we just did that. So I would, if you can, do that.
Okay.
Because then we can show the judge, look, you know what? You did parenting classes.
Yeah.
Even after reunification efforts ceased,
Yeah.
you took it into your own hand and you did parenting classes.
Yeah. I did parenting classes before I had my firstborn too. And it's always good to know more stuff. They're doing cyberbullying classes and stuff. I mean, that's new stuff that parents should know about. So.
Yeah. Yep. And Love and Logic is a really popular program. It's used in most counties. So it's well known. So judges like to see it being used.
So the parental alienation tactics from my mom and Nathan, and the actual concerns of sexual grooming is a real thing. Also, the dangers over there. And I want you to know that I'll do anything it takes to get them back, and I miss them. And I thank you for taking time to talk with me. I know we only got a couple minutes left, but I have not had success with anything. I've done many things quietly and alone, and in hopes that it'll just work out. But I've been sitting in this house for almost a year, alone.
Yep, and it's rough, and I'm not gonna lie and pretend it's not an uphill battle. You know, that's in theory, is it the state's burden of proof? Yes. In practicality, does it function as your burden of proof? Yeah. Does that suck? Yes. Is that bullshit? Yes.
No,
Is it reality? Also, yes.
Did I miss the chance to file an appeal on the first case? It's not even the disposition. I don't know what's happening with that, but I didn't even end up getting to trial, and it was defaulted. And I have all types of stuff. They're all their allegations, all the stuff they were saying. I have proof evidence, and I had it all ready. Also, the drug test.
You missed your chance to appeal that.
Yeah.
So, but we'll deal with this, and we're just gonna take steps forward as we can, and we got a plan, and we can do what we can do, and we're gonna do everything we can do. Okay.
Okay.
So that I can't make any promises, but we're gonna work together.
I don't know if you've seen them, but this is what.
Oh, they're cuties.
This is Jimmy and Jace.
They're very cute kids.
Yeah.
I love glasses. I was a glasses kid, so.
Yeah, they're so cute. So smart.
Yeah. So we got a plan. We know what we're gonna do.
Okay.
You got some stuff to think about. You got some stuff to do. And we got the admit tonight hearing next week. And after that, we'll set up another meeting, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
And I think this works well to just do it by Zoom, or by Google Meets technically, but whatever. We just call everything Zoom these days.
I didn't even notice it was different. Yeah. I did notice now it's different, but cool. I do Microsoft Teams for therapy and treatment and stuff.
Yeah, I hate Teams.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know why. Because it always tells my boss that I'm available when I'm not available. And then I'm like, no, I'm in a meeting. Stop calling me.
My email's bling blang, 2007, and so it comes up as my name is bling blang in the group, and then she doesn't want us to put in slang names and whatever, and I was like, I'm not trying to. So I finally got it to stick into changing it, but I was like, it's just my email address, promise.
Promise. I'm not.
But it's too much memory to use, and so they actually gave me a hotspot, and I use the hotspot to do those meetings, so.
Nice.
Yeah, very cool idea for them to do.
Yeah. Very cool. But yeah, so just keep going to your meetings, see if you can do Love and Logic, email me that stuff. We'll set up a OneDrive or something for you to upload your evidence to, and we'll figure out with stipulations and stuff, like I said, what we can get in without. We don't want to have to call the UA person if we don't have to.
Yeah,
she's ready. Process anyway.
Yeah, let's set up some sort of an account, like Dropbox or something, and you set it up and send me the information, and then I can just give you that stuff, because I don't know if we should be sending just email. We can, get files or whatever. I'll send it all to you, and you can copy my Word documents over to something more professional.
Yep. I will set up a OneDrive that we can both access.
Like, is that a Dropbox?
Similar to a Dropbox, yeah. Okay. It's just the Microsoft version of Dropbox.
Not a hard drive, like OneDrive.
No.
I had a Drive stick, but this is online.
No, it's an online.
Okay.
It's similar to Dropbox. It's just the Microsoft version.
Okay.
It's just cheaper to get more space there, and it's officially approved by the Board of Professional Responsibility, so I don't get in trouble for using it.
Right, and I don't know all them rules, so that's why I need you. That's why they make me need you.
Yeah. why we exist.
Yeah,
Um,
I told my therapy group, I said, you're my mandatory group of friends.
so we got a plan. We know what we're doing. Feel better?
Yeah, a little bit.
I know it's not a lot better, but at least a little better.
I just miss him so much.
And it's going to be harder before it gets better. But, like I said, just think on the things I've told you to think on. Send me the stuff you need me to send me. I will set up that OneDrive and send you a link. Probably won't happen today. May not happen tomorrow because I have a brief due tomorrow.
Well,
And
we got plenty of time. It's not until July 16th.
Yeah, so we got time. But so we'll get that set up. See if you can do the Love and Logic.
I will.
If you can't afford that, see, there may be parenting classes for free online. I just know that one's available and that one comes highly recommended.
Okay.
And they may have fee waivers. It might be worth contacting them and just asking.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I did contact one. They gave me a $5 off promo code. So, I mean, it's always worth trying.
Yeah. $5 is better than no dollars.
Right. Yep. I don't have the 120 lying around, but I do also need to. I've had a couple interviews and looking for jobs around here, just part time or. I didn't get qualified for the forklift job at Goodwill, but.
Yeah, but we'll figure it out. So, like I said, if you can afford to do the Love and Logic, great. If you can't, not in any worse position than you are now, right?
Well, I don't want them to say that I haven't done, because they were marking off all these things that I haven't done, and when really it was unnecessary and excessive already. But I was checking them off pretty good, and considering my mental anguish I was going through at the same time, worrying about the kids, and I don't want it to make it look worse if I didn't go.
Yep, and like I said, we're at the place we're at. If you can get it done, great. If you can't, we're no worse than we are right now, right?
We'll be able to find out what information they have through Discovery too. My sister is involved. They've always scapegoated me. I moved out when I was really young, got away from them crazies, but would we be able to find out what they're planning on even saying? Because Akira thought she was going to be able to do one day of trial and it was going to be over for me. And the judge was like, well, she would have to present her side, so it would take longer. And she just was like, well, what if I get done today? And he was like, well, that's not how it works. She's got to present her side still, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Kara sometimes underestimates how long things take.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I'm now your attorney and I go faster than anybody else.
Okay.
If you haven't noticed, I talk rather quickly.
Yeah, it's fine because I can play YouTube videos on fast forward and I really can't function if they're not anymore.
Good.
The information
that's
is like
how I talk.
it doesn't sound like it's fast because it just sounds like the words are kind of like, but I can pick it up in my brain.
I talk faster than court reporters are taught to type.
Yeah, that's pretty fast.
I've had more than one court reporter yell at me. Like, you talk too fast. I'm like, sorry. Didn't mean to.
Well, they're dialogue typing. It takes a little bit to put all the little commas and stuff in.
Yeah. But we're at the end of the meeting, so.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. So I think we got a plan. We know what we're doing, and we'll set up our next meeting in a week or so, okay?
Okay, when you email me, I'll make sure I email a confirmation back to make sure that I got it, and then it's confirmed back, so.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate
Thanks.
it, Sarah.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.